Alright guys, so I'm out here on a cold and snowy winter day to talk to you about how to train parkour and free running safely and effectively. A lot of people unfamiliar with free running tend to think that serious injury is just an ultimate risk that you're going to have to take if you want to practice this sport. And while the occasional minor injury, such as a sprained ankle or a couple bumps and bruises, is fairly common in this sport, serious injuries can be avoided if you take the necessary precautions. So today I'm going to be giving you 5 tips I've learned throughout my experience on how to avoid serious injury when training parkour and free running. Tip number 1 is to prepare your body physically for the movements that you're doing. Freerunning by its nature is a very physically demanding sport, and the more you progress to difficult tricks, the harsher they become on your body. So it's really important that your body is physically prepared before doing tricks that are going to be very harsh on it. You want to make sure that you're doing proper exercises, whether that's gym workouts or body weight exercises, and you also want to make sure you're stretching routinely in order to keep yourself flexible and loose so that you don't pull or even tear any muscles. As some of you may know, I've been suffering from a pretty long-lasting knee injury as a result from putting so much pressure on my body. And because of this, I've been doing workouts and exercises that are specifically targeted into strengthening my muscles, especially around my knee, in order to prevent putting so much pressure on my knee and causing further injury. So if you're training parkour and free running and you want to make sure you keep your body healthy so that you can continue to do so, then make sure you physically prepare your body. Tip number 2 for making sure that you don't get seriously injured when training free running is to know when to quit. After a solid free running session, you're probably going to feel pretty sore. And although you might want to try that final trick because you've been working on it the whole time and still haven't landed it quite as cleanly as you wanted to, sometimes you gotta know when it's time to rest. More serious injuries, such as muscle tears, can occur when you're training when your body is too sore and weak. And even though physically preparing your body will make you a healthier athlete, you still need to take proper rest days in order to recover. So for tip number 3, it's to make sure that you don't try anything that you're not ready for. Freerunning is all about progressing and pushing your limits and your comfort zone. But if you try things that are beyond your current ability, then you can end up even hurting your progression, as you'll have to take longer to recover than you are spending time learning new tricks. If you've ever seen a beginner try a backflip when they're not mentally prepared, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. They usually jump up into the air, freeze up in the middle of it, and then end up landing on their neck or their head. The thing is, this kind of bail can be entirely avoided if you just mentally prepare yourself before trying something and make sure that you don't try something that you're not ready for. So in order to properly prepare yourself for a trick, you want to make sure you do all the commonly known prerequisites, i.e. the tricks and skills you want to know before trying a more scary and advanced move. And you also want to make sure that your body's physically prepared, like we said. And most importantly, you want to make sure that that fear inside of you before trying the trick is manageable. If you're going for your first backflip and there's that paralyzing fear that you feel like as soon as you try it, your body's just going to lock up and you're shaking a lot before you do it, that's probably not a good sign for you to try your first backflip. Of course, there's always going to be some level of fear when trying something new. That's with everything. But being able to manage that fear is what's going to enable you to learn a new trick safely. Alright, tip number 4 for avoiding serious injury, and listen closely to this one because I've had a lot of bad experiences with it. Don't try something in a hazardous environment. When doing any particular free running movement, you want to make sure the surface you're trying it on is solid. That means if you want to make sure you're not going to get hurt, you probably don't want to train in slippery grass, ice, and for whatever obstacles you're looking for, make sure they're not falling apart, make sure they can support your body weight and then some, and make sure to properly prep the surface you're using, whether that be the normal flat ground or an actual obstacle, in order to ensure that it's going to be able to withstand the pressure you're putting on it and you're not going to fall or slip or anything like that as the fault of a hazardous environment. You can find countless videos of people failing because of a hazardous environment, And while it's easy to blame the environment, it's up to us as freerunners to ensure the surfaces we're training on are safe so that we don't risk unnecessary serious injury. So I've been giving you a lot of tips for how to avoid putting yourself in particularly dangerous situations, but for this fifth and final tip, we're going to be talking about how to avoid serious injury if you do find yourself in a dangerous fall. If you haven't heard the term ukemi before, that is essentially the art of falling. I believe it was practiced in martial arts or some form of that, in which people fighting each other would practice learning how to break their fall, essentially. Learning how to fall is actually essential for a sport such as freerunning, and has helped me in a lot of situations. One specific way I like to incorporate ukemi into my training is to practice falling on my backflips. Learning how to fall is extremely important in this sport, and it can always be practiced with different tricks and different styles of movement. So if you want to minimize the risk of injury even further, then make sure you learn how to fall. Alright guys, that's going to be it for me for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other recommendations for videos like this or anything at all, then let me know in the comments below and I'll consider doing it for the next video. So thanks for watching. I'm gonna get out of this cold.